All right, so welcome to our presentation for the WISS Post-Secondary Information Project. So before I go into the actual information, first I'll just present who were the team members. So firstly, we have Vikram. He was the project manager for our group. Next, we have Lin Zin, who was the researcher and also did the database to front-end linking. Next, we have myself. I'm Manasva. I worked on the back end, hence I worked on the database. And finally, we have George, who was the front-end developer and worked on the website. So here's a quick table of contents. Firstly, I'll be talking about the project and what the actual sort of mission statement was. After that, I'll be covering what our approach was towards the solution. Then we'll be giving you a demo of the front end or the website. And after that, I'll be delving deeper into the back end and how our database is actually structured. So about the project, this project was divided into two main parts. Firstly, we had the back end or the database, and this was the information required in the actual front end deliverable. There were four main sections. There were universities, programs offered at said universities, the requirements for these programs, so like admission requirements, how you would actually get into them, and finally future prospects. What happens after you actually take this university program? Where can you end up? So that's like the sort of the information that is housed in our backend database. Nextly, we have to obviously make a front end, which is the second part, a website, so that users can actually access the information in a user-friendly manner. And the database is therefore linked to the front end to facilitate this access. So our solution was made up of two main components, as I said. Firstly, we had a relational database, which was coded primarily in SQLite, and then we used a layer of PHP to link it to the front-end website, which was coded primarily in HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript. So now we'll move on to the demo of the website. So you can see our website here, and this is the home page. So if you scroll down, you can see once you go lower, there's a quick like sort of welcome message to students who would be accessing the website and a quick explanation of what the website is about. Then there's also a video of a sample navigation of the website. Now, if we go to the top, we can see that there are some main tabs. And let's say as a student, I would like to navigate this website by looking at the various universities and the programs offered at said universities. I can click on the universities tab. Now here you can see we've selected three sample universities. So we've selected three big universities, the University of Toronto, University of Waterloo, and McMaster University. And we selected some sample courses out of all of these. Now, firstly, if you click on the actual, let's say I'm interested in the University of Toronto. If I click on the University of Toronto, you can see that this leads us directly to the home page of the University of Toronto's it leads you to the website of University of Toronto. So if students want some like extra information, they can go here. Now let's go back to our website and actually look at the courses. So let's say I'm interested in chemical engineering at the University of Waterloo. I can select that course. Here you can see that there is a title for the course, and then there's a basic description. Then as we go down, we can see that there's a program summary, which gives students the sort of surface level information they would need to immediately decide whether or not this course appeals to them and whether or not they actually find it interesting. So we have the name, the degree you would get, some prerequisites. So those include courses that students would have to take in high school to be eligible for these university courses in the first place. And obviously, this is very important when students will be planning out their sort of high school career. Then we also have the grade range. So what is the mark that you would need to actually get accepted into these programs? And after that, we have some other information, such as experimental learning offered in the program, as well as languages, the language that a program is taught in. After that, if the students are interested, they can scroll lower and get more information, such as courses that are part of the syllabus of the program, as well as other things like supplementary applications that exist and ways to get additional admissions. Next, there's a small little section of language requirements. And there's also a timing section which tells students until what point the university actually accepts applications. Now, at this point, if the student is interested in the course, they can look at these sample future prospects. This includes potential employers, careers, and the outlook for said employers and careers that exist if they actually took this course. Lastly, on the page, we have contact information. The whole purpose of the website is obviously to connect these students to these universities and the programs. Hence, we need the contact information so the students can reach out to these universities if they are really interested in the program and wish to apply. We also have a link to the website and the actual, the program link over there as well. So now let's say I want to navigate this a little differently. Let's say I don't really have an idea of what university I want to go to, but I just want to browse the programs. I would click on the programs tab. So now you can see here all the programs are listed without the sort of university section. So they can browse simply based on the program. And if I keep scrolling down, let's say I'm interested in a program at McMaster. Let's say I'm actually interested in, I don't know, how about life sciences at McMaster University? Or sorry, health sciences at McMaster University. Here you can see this page follows it basically very similar format to the previous one. It simply has all the information. It's just pulling it from a different point in the database. All our program pages follow the same template, so they're really easy to reproduce. And you simply need to change in the code one number so that the actual front end pulls the information from a different location, which changes the entire look of the page. Now, finally, I'd like to demonstrate another feature of our website, which is the interests tab. If you go to this, you can see that there's a small form that you can fill out to browse courses. So let's say I don't know much about the programs offered in Ontario, or I don't know much about even the universities. I could simply go to this form and fill things out. So let's say if I leave the university, what university are you interested in blank? It will simply filter in all the universities. Then let's say my best subject is mathematics. I can click on the drop-down menu and select mathematics as sort of my best subject. And let's say I don't really have a specific program in mind. If you do, you can use the specific program in mind as a search bar. But let's say I don't really have an idea. And let's say my grade range is 95 plus. Now, once I click submit, this runs an SQL query on the database and searches for the applicable courses. Here you can see there are 2 that match my description. Obviously, once you add more courses, this list will be much bigger. So let's say I'm interested in the computer science at the University of Waterloo. If I were to click on the course, this leads me to the same template page, just with the appropriate information. So here you can see we have all that information. It's the exact same stuff, just exact same format, except catered to this course instead. And we also have different images for each course to give a sort of individual feel to each separate program offered at the various universities. And finally, the last tab we have left unexplored is the frequently asked questions. And in this one, we basically have a quick guide on how students can calculate their grade average and where students can go for other information if they would like to research even further than this website, because this website is meant to be a nexus to all these sort of surface level information students would need to actually get interested in university. It's kind of like the surface level to allow them to break the initial fear of diving into what can be the potentially intimidating world of all these sort of different university programs and courses. So that concludes the demo of our front end. In the interest of time, we will now go through every single course because the format stays pretty much the same. Now we shall go back to the actual presentation. So now I'll go over a quick explanation of how the backend or the database actually functions. Our database is divided into multiple tables. So basically each table has multiple sort of attributes given to it. And when we create a new course, what we're essentially doing is we're creating a new container in the database that has separate compartments for all these different sorts of information. So the first 2 tables that we have are future prospects and admission requirements. And now each entry, each course is given a unique ID to allow the database to be like efficient and organized. So for the future prospects table, we include information such as potential employers, potential careers, and employment rate and outlook for these careers as shown on the website. And for admission requirements, we include things such as prerequisites, so courses you would have to take during high school, grade range requirements, language requirements, and the supplementary applications and the timings and deadlines. Now we're going to move on to the final 2 other tables. So what this table over here, the university program table, is the biggest one, and this contains sort of the surface level information about the programs. So you can see all the ones. I'm not going to read them all out, but those are the things that are listed sort of in the table, and they were also on the website. Furthermore, this database is relational. So that means the tables can access information from each other. So the university programs table, for example, is able to access information from the future prospects and admission requirements tables, which facilitates all the information being shown in that sort of one Nexus page. And finally, we have the universities table, which contains all the universities. Currently, there are only 3, and each university is given its ID, a name, and then all the programs that are sort of related to that university are listed. So for example, in the Waterloo University entry, we would have the program ID for the computer science program and all the other programs that were listed in the website. And this universities table is therefore able to pull information from the university programs table to facilitate the users who are accessing the website. Finally, this is a quick chart of the layout of the database. So at the bottom, we have these 2 tables, the future prospects and admission requirements. Then we have the university programs, which uses these key values to access the information from these tables. And finally, at the top, we have the universities table, which is able to access the courses or the programs from the university programs table. Now, after hearing all this, you must be wondering, why our solution? What puts us apart? Now, this can be divided into 2 main perspectives, the server side and the client side. The server side benefits is that firstly, as I said, we have a very efficient and organized database. All our entries are given unique key values and all of these key values are used to access the data. So that means, as I said, we can copy over the same template for each page in our website and simply change one number at the top, which changes all the information in the page. And this leads me on to my next point. We have full-scale linking between the database and the website using a layer of PHP. And this means if we change the website, change the database, the website will immediately change to update this. So let's say some information, some application details about a course change, we could update the database to reflect this, and the website would change to match. Finally, we have also implemented some basic protection against SQL injections. Now, this is basically where hackers with malicious intent would sort of inject pieces of code. They would inject like SQL queries into our sort of search bars. And instead of actually running, these would be injected directly into our SQL code, which means that hackers could have a potential of pulling information about people who are actually accessing the website, as well as just our information on the website as well. So our protection against this increases the sort of security and credibility of our website. Next, moving on to the client-side benefits. These are the ones that apply to the people actually using the website. The website is very bright, simple, and clean, which makes it very, very easy to navigate for the students who are using it. And this is because we don't want the website's UI to be an actual barrier to them. We don't want the website to be like an issue. We just want it to be a tool that they can use. Next, we also have the interest form, which allows them to filter the courses by sort of universities as well as interest areas, which is another feature that may be helpful and allow them to navigate it their own way. And finally, we did also have the program search bar in the interest form if they wish to use it. Finally, we do also have the links to the university's websites, as obviously those websites would provide much more in-detail info if the student is indeed interested in the program. Our website provides them a quick way to understand sort of the surface level info at a quick glance about each separate program. Next, we're going to move on to implementation. So the current implementation has basically 0 cost as it is currently local hosted. However, in the future, if our sort of implementation is accepted, to make it more available, we would use an official sort of hosting service. And obviously we would want an official one, not some sort of third-party one, so that our information is not passing through some third-party server and then going on to the user. We would want to use an official credible hosting service. And the actual implementation details of this would require quite minimal effort, as we would basically just need to copy most of our code and stuff over to the server, and it would probably work. Finally, we'll move on to maintenance. Currently, there's very minimal maintenance as it's local hosted and we have full control over everything. So adding new courses is quite easy, and making sure the website is up and running is a very simple task as well. In the future, the same activities would remain. However, adding new courses, like the process would remain the same, just we'd probably need to add many more courses to cater to sort of the entire audience. Currently, we only have a limited amount because this is, after all, a demo. And nextly, making sure it's up and running could become a bit more of a challenge because we would be dependent on the hosting server that we are using being up and running as well. And this is, however, a very small sort of roadblock and could easily be worked around. And the estimated timing to get this working would be relatively low. So timing would scale linearly based on how many courses we would like to add. So adding a new course is a very simple process. If you have the research done, it would probably take only about like 15 minutes to add a new sort of page for a course. So if you finish the research, you simply need to create a new sort of templated page and just provide the proper key to the database that would allow you to access the appropriate info. So that concludes our presentation. I would like to thank all of you for listening.